What's up, Jet fans? I just finished watching Game 9, Browns at Jets. Let's jump into it. So, the biggest story in this game, whereas the Jets and all the trade deadline moves, I have made multiple videos on my thoughts on that. But whether you like it or don't, that was definitely the biggest story. We got rid of two of our four best players. Um, And, well, for people like me, you don't like that at all. But we have to move forward. We have to move on. And it's nice for the Jets to get a win against the Browns, 27-20. Their record is now 2-7. I predicted their record to be 3-6. Technically, I got this game right. But I think I should maybe stop using my predicted records at this point because so much has changed. I did not predict the Jets to lose Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams. Um, but the Browns were supposed to be a bad team. They've been a bad team, and the Jets were able to get a good win against them, a close win, but a win nonetheless. And before we move on into this game, shout out to Sauce Gardner for winning his game against or with the Colts. In overtime, a bit of an exciting game there. And Quinnen Williams, he has not played yet this week. So we scored 27 points, right? Just like last week, we scored a lot of points. You think you might want to give props to the offense, but in this game, that is definitely not the case. We'll get to the offense in a bit, but before we have to shout out special teams, really. Two kick return touchdowns. You win a game by 7 points. Well, the special teams scored 14 of those points, basically. So definitely shout out to these guys. They really didn't even allow us to play sluggish, right? Everyone was thinking the Jets were going to come in sluggish. We just traded away two of our best players. We're clearly not trying to win. Management, obviously, the players are trying to win, but management is not trying to win. How do you, as a player, deal with that? Well, once you score two back-to-back kick return touchdowns, you kind of get the team really excited. So shout out for these guys, not just putting points on the board, but culturally speaking, getting the Jets hyped up in a game that, well, frankly, in a really hard week to get hyped up for a game. And then while we're talking about special teams, just wow for the Browns. They got sacked in the end of the first half, and they somehow managed, like in 5 seconds, to switch a normal offense to a field goal unit, and they kicked a field goal. That was kind of just impressive. Not about the Jets, but shout out to the Browns on that. And now jumping into the offense. The offense was left untouched during the trade deadline, despite people thinking, especially Brees Hall was going to get traded, and lots of teams calling about Garrett Wilson. But just to start, I think a good offensive line performance. The Browns, the one thing that they're good at, if they're good at anything, is pass rushing. They have Myles Garrett, so obviously they're going to be good at that. But I don't think he was that much of a factor, and the Jets' offensive line were able to hold him pretty well. Although Justin Fields, of course, he felt pressure, but that was mostly on him. Um, to the negative, Garrett Wilson, where are you? Right? We trade you? Because I couldn't tell due to this game. He was targeted 3 times, couldn't get anything. The Browns were good at not letting him do anything, literally anything. He didn't catch a single ball. That is brutal, but it's just one game, so we'll see. And then shout out to Brees Hall. I know we scored 27 points, but really, on offense, we only scored one touchdown, and that was a screen pass, and Brees Hall did all the work there, so shout out to him. And right, that's reflected on the stats. Justin Fields, he did throw his first interception of the season, so that's no good. But Brees Hall, he had a good game, over 100 offensive yards. And that's that's basically it. I can say, right. The amount of points we scored in this game is really due to special teams. The offense could not do anything. In the first half, looked super bad. We were able to kind of recover in the second half a bit, but most of the yardage came from Brees Hall, and lots of Justin Fields' yardage actually was from just a big play, a big screen pass from Brees Hall. So he did not look good. Like last week, or not last week, sorry, 2 weeks ago, Justin Fields looked really good, and I'm glad we won. We now have 2 wins in a row, but Justin Fields was brought back down to earth, I suppose, and this is more of what we should expect from him. Defense, right? The defense was the thing that was touched. We lost our two best defensive players, um, but shout out to the pass rush, specifically Will McDonald, 4 sacks. The entire defense had 6 sacks, but Will McDonald, especially, he blew up a bunch of plays. He was playing really well. There was lots of penalties, especially in the first half, from the defensive backs. So maybe it's not just a Sauce Gardner thing. But anyways, but the defensive line really came to play, and the defensive backs got their stuff together in the second half to win this game, and I'm excited about the win. Right, and so I caution me putting this part of the video in because I think people are going to call me a flip-flopper just because we got a win. But I was going to put this part in the video no matter what, just to be positive, so you guys will just have to believe me on that. But, right, before I get into it, I think the trades are bad. I don't like the trades. But I do want to talk about when Dan Campbell and the Lions traded away their best player, or perhaps their biggest star. I think during Dan Campbell's first year, they traded away TJ Hawkinson during the trade deadline to the Vikings. And lots of people hated that trade. I don't think as much. He plays tight end, right? He's not that big of a priority position. But it was kind of a shocking trade. He was kind of the face of their franchise at that time. This was before Jared Goff got good. This was before Dan Campbell had a winning season with the Lions, but they traded away TJ Hawkinson, and everyone thought that that was going to kill the Lions, specifically the culture. No one was going to try to play. And I think Dan Campbell was able to overcome that and kind of build up his team his way, and they got draft picks for a player who he clearly didn't want. And so I put all that in there to say, for people who are super negative about this trade, such as myself, perhaps this could be, I know Aaron Glenn isn't Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell isn't Aaron Glenn, but he does come from the Lions. The Lions did do something similar, not to the magnitude the Jets just did. So it's a different situation, but I do think it's important to realize that in the past, a team with Aaron Glenn on it did trade away their star during the trade deadline, and that team went on to have success. So it can happen. I don't know how much money I'd put on it happening, but it's not impossible, and it's important to remember there are examples of it working out. But that's basically all I have for this video. We have won 2 games in a row. The trade deadline in between puts it makes it that we haven't lost a game in 3 weeks. You round 3 weeks up, rounding error, put that a month. The Jets are undefeated for an entire month. That's pretty good. I'm kidding, of course. We get to play the Patriots in Foxborough next week. They have turned things around and they are looking really, really good. So that's probably when this win streak ends. And then we play the Ravens and the Falcons, and they're both looking good. And, well, the Dolphins are beating the Bills, or maybe have already beaten the Bills by the time this video come out. So they're looking hot, I suppose, relatively speaking. So the getting 2 wins in a row was good. But most fans are probably rooting for us to lose anyway, so they're not going to be mad that we have a hard upcoming schedule for the next 3-4 weeks. I, of course, don't think we should lose, but I've talked about that plenty of times in multiple videos. So you guys let me know how you feel about this team, the turbulent week we've had as Jet fans. Don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye.